and it's not. Okay, it'll be about 20 seconds or so.
Okay.
It's there somewhere. There, see?
Ready? I count fast.
Me too.
All right. All right. We are now called to order for the CIC meeting of whatever this is, November 7th, 2016. We will begin with actually the roll call.
Okay, Tony is excused. Mark Matheson?
Yeah.
Linda Basinger? Here. Dennis Anderson? Here. Mike is excused. Amy's excused. Faith? Here. Joyce? Here. Jesse's excused. Gordon Wilson?
Here.
Gordon Wilson. And you're in Kenema?
McLaughlin.
McLaughlin. Yeah, McLaughlin. Barbara Rankin. Stephen Haverbeek.
Here.
Karen Morey.
Here.
Harris is not here. Bill McConnell's excused. Gary Fergus.
Here.
And Brian Boyce. You got the touch.
All right. Thank you. We will begin tonight with our presentation, and this is from Girl Scout Troop number 45064 on the CD Ladderette Park. Ladies, if you'd like to come up to the table here and use the microphones.
Yes. Okay.
Looking forward to your update since our windy,
Excellent.
wet day out in the park.
Yeah.
Well, it's wonderful to see you all. This is our first time to this particular committee, but we wanted to share with you an event that the girls have planned for this upcoming weekend. So Kate has passed around a flyer, but I thought I'd give you a little bit of background. Starting last year, as we were actually sitting around a campfire talking about our neighborhood, there was interest in seeing what we could do to make changes to a park that's in our neighborhood. It's called DC Ladderette Park. It's located at the intersection of Madison and 11th. And we were trying to figure out, well, how could we see improvements going on in that park? We came to the Parks Advisory Committee meeting, and we talked to the Parks Director, and they said, well, we know something needs to be done, but we just don't know what. And we've got a lot of things we're working on. And so, I don't know, maybe you guys can figure out what people might want. So last March, the girls hosted an event, and I'm just going to pass this around so you can look at it. It's an article about an event that they hosted called Party in the Park, where they were raising awareness about La Tourette Park. And they, as a part of what's going around, is just what they collected information of the type of activities people might be interested in. But we did hear that they thought that we should have more opportunities for people to be engaged in this conversation. So we applied for a community enhancement grant, and so that we could have a workshop focused specifically on getting ideas about what should be in the park. So Kate is going to talk about that.
This event is hosted up at the Oregon City Pool through the weekend of November 11th through the 13th. We would love to have all of you come to either a session, a day, or the entire weekend. If you RSVP for one day, you would get a free lunch. On Friday evening, we are the main part of it is building community with our community and neighbors. And then on Saturday, we have park planning games, so what our neighbors would like to see for the park. And then on Sunday, we're finalizing all the park ideas.
So with the Community Enhancement Grant, we are partnering with a group called the City Repair Project. They're a nonprofit organization that is centered in Portland. They've been around for nearly 20 years, and their specific focus is working with community groups and getting them, one, to kind of work with their neighbors on different projects in the area. You may be familiar with some projects up in Portland where they do the intersection painting. It's called intersection design, and it's used to kind of build community while also slowing down traffic and things like that. And they have also worked with some communities up in Canada on park planning. They've done some work. They just came back from some folks down in Nevada City, working with some communities there. And so it's sort of an intensive, it's a lot for a weekend. But one of the things that I thought folks may really be interested in from this group is the Friday night, where it really is about engaging the people who live in the neighborhood and getting people invested into working together to be involved in their community. So even if you don't live in the McLaughlin neighborhood, you might find some value in learning about that and different skills. But everybody's welcome for the whole weekend, because we hope that maybe that this could be a park like is up in Kenema, where people from outside of the Kenema area go to that park, and people really like that. And we would really like to see people be able to come and enjoy the McLaughlin neighborhood. I think one of the reasons why we were talking about this is there has been a lot of change down in that area of McLaughlin with the moving of the Merrillhurst School. Before, there was a lot of different activity, and there was a play structure down at the Merrillhurst School by the Barclay Hill School. But that school moved up and to a different location, and they took their play equipment, and so the park at La Tourette, it really hasn't seen investment probably in the last 30 or 40 years. So, but we're here. There's on the flip side of so on the flyer we gave you, on one side it has the full workshop agenda. We were encouraging people to RSVP, but there'll be more than enough food for everyone, so don't worry about that. But we were trying to gauge being able to have enough food. We've gotten some donations from Fred Meyer to help us out. So we hope to have some sandwiches and things for folks. So I don't know if...
And for for true old timers, this is where the old outdoor swimming pool used to be. It was filled in, the bathhouse was partially torn down, the back wall's still there. And aside from that, Kate, describe what the park actually looks like now.
Well, it's all concrete. There is a backboard and then 2 basketball hoops where you can just play like half basketball. And then there's a chain link fence, which is supposed to represent tennis courts, but it's chain link. And then it, when we were canvassing, one of the neighbors actually said it looked like a prison yard because of the chain link fence around it. So
that's a good description. And how deep are the puddles on the court?
Yes.
All right. Any questions from anyone?
I guess I was going to add that the girls from the troop have been going to lots of different meetings, trying to encourage folks to go. We've been working with the McLaughlin Neighborhood Association and Denise to kind of get the word out about this. And they were at the McLaughlin Neighborhood Association meeting. We went to the Parks Foundation meeting and the Parks Advisory Committee meeting. So they've been working really hard, and they've been canvassing the neighborhood. It's been an interesting way, I think, to do kind of community engagement. I think people not quite sure what to expect, but it really is about the neighborhood and hoping to get something that they can then work on and actually see a change there.
Very good. All right. Anyone?
So I see a bunch of different options for things you might do there. Are they ranked at any level, or do you have one that is better than the others that you think?
So on those pages that we sent around,
Made it as far as
okay. So what we had done at the very first meeting was, or the very first party in the park, we gave people, like, do you want kind of a nature play area or a traditional play structure? And then asked people to put stars kind of near what they liked. And do they want something that like climbing or swings? And so that kind of gave us themes, but not really enough to say there should be a tennis court here and a nature play area there. And so we're hoping that at this weekend we'll start to get kind of more solid ideas about what direction the community is interested in going. Because at this point, I don't think that the parks group division hasn't set aside any money to necessarily do some planning, but they've been very open to hearing what the community wants out there.
So is the grant for this meeting coming up on this next weekend?
Exactly.
Not for the project.
Correct. It's just paying for the city repair group to come in and facilitate these meetings.
Okay.
So then we'll apply for more money to build something.
All right. Thank you.
Hope to see you there.
Karen?
Excuse me.
Katie?
Kate.
Katie, do you want this stuff back? Thank you.
All right, and TriMet had a family illness and is not able to send all of TriMet did. The representative from TriMet was unable to attend tonight. And I may not make it through the meeting. So that will be hopefully moved to next month. Excuse me. All right, do we have anyone here for public comment? Seeing none, we are down to our work item. Laura, would you like to?
Actually, I did.
Oh, I got a minute.
I was wondering if we could call on Public Works. They're not on the electronic.
Did I get left off?
Could they be a public comment? Not on the agenda item?
John, I would have noticed you, I promise.
So, thank you for listening to me, even though I'm not on the agenda. So I'm
there.
You're there.
You're there. Oh, well,
Just above public comment.
Well,
Oh, there
she
we
went
go.
right by you.
oh, okay.
Yeah.
I get it.
Skipped over you.
Oh, I did. I skipped over you. It was my fault.
I am exceptionally disorganized today, so I'm scrambling, and I hope you'll bear with me here. I just wanted to talk a little bit about Lynn Avenue, and I apologize for the rotation on these. I haven't actually downloaded these off my phone, so we're looking at my phone, so I'm hoping there's nothing on them on my phone camera that you want to see.
No naked women sideways.
Yeah, sorry about the sideways.
Yeah,
I tried to rotate it, but it won't work. So I'm just going to scroll through some of the problems we've been encountering on Lynn Avenue, and there's some other photos I want to show you about Berry Hill. So just a couple exciting things, and then once I'm done with that, I'll talk about some things that don't need pictures and plug in a PowerPoint on Lynn Avenue and one other topic. So this is a trench box. We call it a shoring box for deep excavation. So what we're looking at, this is actually the road surface up here and kind of a side angle, so I apologize for that. So this is usually upright. That's the new sewer line that we're putting in on Lynn Avenue. We're about 12 feet deep there. This big cavern and caving away is unfortunate. It's really causing us some real problems. We've got large boulders, which I'll show you, and this is an old abandoned water line that was in the same trench line. So we've got the old county road section there, and these are just some service lines, some of which have been abandoned, other ones which haven't. So our trenching effort on Lynn Avenue has been less than straightforward, and that's part of the reason for the closure of Lynn Avenue. For one, because of all those caving trenches, trying to put traffic on a single lane through Lynn Avenue has been real problematic for us. So that's the reason for the closure. And right now, I think the signs are listing through the 18th, and our original notice said through the 11th. So we're just kind of taking it one step at a time, trying to watch how well the contractor can move along with some of these obstructions that we're running into. And I just kind of wanted to thumb through some of these kind of quickly, because that's been our biggest problem. Some of the boulders that we're running into on Lynn Avenue are significant. Those are as big as a small car in some cases, and we did due diligence with some geotechnical exploration work. Unfortunately, boulders they're not like bedrock. You know, you get to bedrock and you kind of can tell where it is. boulders, if you happen to drill where there are no boulders, then you look like you've got pretty decent soil conditions. In this case, that's not the case. We drilled, we didn't find any boulders, and so in our geologic work, but we're finding them now. So the contractor since brought on larger equipment. That piece in the background is kind of the tip of a rock hammer that he's using to break those rocks up into smaller chunks, and so that he can haul them away. But anyway, that's actually a different location. So that's near Highway 213 in Beaver Creek. So we've met with ODOT on that. I wasn't going to really talk too much about that. But this is behind, I know most of you haven't really been behind the Berry Hill Apartments, but this is kind of the slope that's failed at the Forest Edge Apartments. And the owner of the Berry Hill Apartments has actually applied for and received plans to build a significant retaining wall. So what you're looking at here is a shot from the slope behind the Berry Hill Apartments, and the wall that's being built is just a few feet off the backside of an 8-plex right there, and they're going to move that. So where I'm standing taking the picture, that wall will extend right past there and even beyond. So significant wall. That's the downslope. That's actually looking down towards the Forest Edge Apartments. It's very steep, and they're trying to deal with the weather conditions that they have. A lot of that white stuff is not snow; it's plastic, white plastic. So here's kind of a sense of scale. That small excavators down in the bottom of the pit, helping them do some of the earthwork that they need to do in the bottom, and then the wall itself, I can't remember the height, but I want to say it's close to 25 feet tall. And it's kind of interesting. They're not driving these piles like you would typically see most construction, where they hammer the pile and you hear it knock, 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 just keep driving that. In this case, they've got a drill rig that's drilling holes. And right there, you can kind of get a glimpse. They drill a hole, they drop this I-beam down in the hole, and then they fill that hole with a concrete slurry. And then they come back and they excavate out some of that area, and they drop these large timbers down in between the I-beams. And then really at the end of the day, they're actually going to tie these back further underneath the building as well. So it's a substantial wall, and it's well placed below the slip plane of the slope. So that, again, is based on a detailed geologic survey. And so it's actually, this contractor has done a lot of this kind of work. You typically see it in highway construction, and you probably may have seen it through the Terwilliger curves near on I-5, because they use the same kind of process there. So just again, some more pictures of scale. That's the drill rig there. I know, again, it's sideways, but that's the drill rig that they use to drill the holes for those I-beams.
John, did you say they're going to move the building?
They're not going to move those buildings.
Oh, I thought maybe that's what you said.
They're doing this to preserve those buildings.
Yeah, okay.
And again, these slope pictures aren't as nearly as moving when they're turned the wrong way, but that's a pretty steep slope. There's a couple of drill rigs, but that's the main drill that they're using for that. And that's it. That's my dog. That's Sissy. She found her toy this weekend.
Or what used to be her toy.
So with that, I'm going to unplug that and do something a little different here. Bear with me here for just a second. I guess the other thing while I'm changing slides here, the city right now is soliciting for elevator operators to operate our municipal elevator. We do that. We're required to do that because we're basically contracting for services. Go in. Can you help me, Laura? Try and get that thing in there. So right now we're soliciting for proposals for elevator operation services, and the current we've used a company called 5 Star for many years, who has told us, the owners of that company, They're not interested in bidding this next round. I wouldn't be surprised if some of those employees are interested in putting something together, but for the most part, and that's not going in there, is it? I'm worried if we pull that. Thank you. See if you can get the directory to pull up on that. So right now, Main Street's actually talking about submitting a proposal, and it's open to other employment agencies that might provide that kind of service. So we'll be reaching out to some of those firms to see if we can't get that to happen. You think it's going to show up?
Which one do you want?
John, are we gonna extend the hours of the elevator too?
We're talking about that. We've actually written the request for proposals such that we've got that flexibility to extend those hours.
Good.
So yeah, that's something that we've heard is interest to the community. So we're willing to go there. Thanks, Laura.
It comes, it goes. It went.
Minute there. So if you know anybody who's interested in running the elevator, let us know.
Is it safe? And they came through. I'm just asking, has there ever been
The elevator's safe.
Yeah.
You mean to?
Has there ever been an issue with the person running the elevator having a problem and then riding the elevator?
They know how to deal with it.
No, it is a safe job. You mean for the person that's in the elevator? We've never had any incidents. Yeah. So I'm not quite sure why this isn't coming up full screen, but.
It's touchy. Ah, all right, don't touch anything else.
There you go.
Okay. We'll leave it there. So most of you are familiar with this location, probably not this vantage point, but this is along 99E. So in the background, just above the 30-mile-per-hour sign there is a water line. And that's a city water line, something that's been there for many, many years and has we've got some corrosion to that pipeline such that we've had some failures and some leaks. So we're looking to replace that pipeline. And this is an effort just to kind of get a better look at the pipeline. So all this traffic control and all these ODOT rigs out here, ODOT kind of shut the traffic down for us so that we could get our bucket truck up there and some folks to look at that pipeline. We're working with ODOT to figure out how best to do this work without too much disruption to traffic, but at the same time making sure that the traveling public is safe. There's some concerns as we start monkeying around with how we're going to secure a new pipeline to the bluff. They just want to make sure that we're doing that safely and appropriately. See if I can. Yeah, so this is just our lift truck and our crews looking at it. The interesting thing about that pipeline that you may not have noticed is it's got lots of bends to it, and most of those are welded bends. So unlike the typical kind of fittings you might have that you might use for a pipeline like this, these were custom built pieces of pipe. So, and they built it such that it would kind of conform or hug the bluff as opposed to kind of sticking out and doing some things there. So we're working with the consultant to try and measure those, figure out what those angles look like, and figure out how we can do that without, without creating too much in the way of custom piping. And
How long has that pipeline been there? Do you know?
I should know, but I want to say at least 50 years. So again, that's just a shot kind of looking up from the bucket truck up near the top of the bluff. So this pipeline comes over the bluff at 3rd Street. So just you can actually walk out there and see it. And again, that's more the kind of the custom bending where they basically cut the pipe and welded it back together. not the standard that you would follow today. And then that's looking up near the top of the pipe. And this is the guy that he's probably the lowest paid guy on the whole job. But he actually scaled down the hillside to check for measurements and measure the diameters of the pipe and try to figure out some of those angles, so that hopefully the assemblage of the pipeline and the manufacture of the pipeline, we can have that pre-made such that we won't have to cause so much disruption to traffic and along 99E. Regardless, it's going to be several days of work, so we're just trying to figure out how to shorten that up as much as we can. So with that, I've got one more little piece. Get that to this is an abbreviated version of a presentation that Tony actually did for us for the Malala Avenue corridor project, and I'm going to go through it real quick. The public information phase of this is at least their online survey was done today, so hopefully you got comments in. But we're looking like we're scoring very well. Karen was there to at the public hearing on the 3rd to help advocate for this project. Tony presented it and did an outstanding job. Wow. And so there were several folks there, but I thought Oregon City had the best showing. We were most organized, weren't we? And we did. And Tony by far blew the rest of those projects, just his presentation.
Well, and out of all of them, I think it's the most diverse. It serves the
most folks.
Most people and different people.
So the Malala Avenue completion project is from Beaver Creek Road to Highway 213. Most of the work would be on the west side in this grant. It's an $8 million project if it were federally funded. So we've asked for just under $4 million, and the other $4 million would come from things like your the gas taxes that you pay. A small amount would come from that. Most of it would come from your pavement maintenance utility fee and developer charges like system development charges for transportation. So there's lots of needs along there. If you've ever tried to walk that or put a stroller on there or wheel somebody in a wheelchair, there's lots of problems. There's sections of sidewalks that are missing, that there's wide driveways that could be better channelized. There's places where there are no ADA ramps. Crossing, especially at Gaffney Lane in Claremont, even though there's signals there, it's not safe. It doesn't feel real comfortable. So that's why we're trying to pursue this, and we're competing with 27 other projects for funding. And at this point, it's debatable about exactly where we're ranked, but we think we're the second of 3 projects in the county. And again, I think our public involvement mattered and continues to matter. So, Malala Avenue was a state highway. It used to be the old Highway 213. And in 1989, the city took that over, and it's really not changed much, with the exception of a few frontages where properties have developed. So this is an example of an area where there's some pretty big sidewalk gaps. In order to have continuous walking there, you got to walk out into the bike lane or up into the parking lot. And lots of scenarios where there's a utility pole in the sidewalk. Some of them are worse than this. They're more centered where you can't really even get around them. So again, it would include a lot of things: wider, continuous ADA accessible sidewalks, what we call access management, which is trying to channelize driveways, especially for properties that maybe have 2 or 3 driveways, trying to reduce that number to 1 or 2, and definitely narrow those up such that they're not as wide as they are, so that people have to, cross a bike lane or cross a sidewalk in a much narrower specific location. Continuous bike lanes. We've got bike lanes along Malala Avenue, but there's places where you kind of lose track of the bike lane, and you don't exactly, you know where you need to go, but they're not well delineated. They could be much better delineated. And then pedestrian activated crossings. These are the things like what we have at 7th and John Adams right there by the library, and also down at 12th and Washington. So you push a ped button and the sign lights up, and you can feel a little more safer about crossing. Street lighting, better transit facilities, stormwater management, and definitely better pavement markings. So it would be the fourth phase of, before I go in there. So that's the corridor. We were showing off the fact that there's lots of schools in the area, which is important for the grant criteria that we use. The community college is on one end, and the Clackamas County campus is on the other end. We've got lots of all the little green and red boxes represent housing, some of which is assisted living housing. So there's folks in those housing, some of which can get out and go shopping across the street, but most of them don't, just because they don't have a safe corridor to walk along. So got a lot of low-income folks and special needs folks that live in this area, and would probably walk more if they felt safer on Malala Avenue. There's a couple of projects that show up here, and let me see if I can. It's not going to work. So up near the top, there's the Newell Creek Canyon trailhead that's still planned and likely to happen soon. The community college just got a $1.8 million grant to improve their frontage road, which includes what they're calling a transit center. So there'll be much better opportunity for transit layover and transit parking for TriMet and other users like the Malala transit system. And then we're showing the new bus transportation facility and the new Myers Road connection between High School Lane and 213. So there's a lot of things going on there, in addition to the Beaver Creek concept area, which is continues to move forward, and it's not the Economic Development District. What's this called? Enterprise Zone, which is really a program to help encourage more business. So we would definitely expect to see, with the improvements to Malala, a lot of the things that we've seen in other boulevards that we've improved, where you've just seen a lot of businesses reinvest, or property owners reinvest in their properties, or new development come to the area just because the boulevard that they access has got more improvements done. So again, it definitely benefits the South metro area as opposed to some other place in the metro area. It's our final ask for the corridor. We're providing a 50.1% match, and this is kind of what that section would look like. It's not like we're adding lanes. We're more doing a better job channelizing that traffic and delineating where it's safe to cross or not cross. We've got a higher than average accident rate in Oregon City than others in the county, and Malala Avenue is one of those high risk areas. So we'd be completing Malala Avenue, and this is another area that's identified by TriMet for future community jobs connection service areas. So when TriMet does come, you're going to see that overlay. It's kind of trying to deal with some of that cross traffic that might serve the South End area and the community college and Park Place areas. This is a project that was identified based on a 2001 plan, so it's been around for a long time. It's something that's been a goal for the city for a long time, and it's also going to be yet another. We've got these alternate mobility studies, which it sounds like we've got some folks that are participating from this group on. The idea is to figure out solutions for Beaver Creek and 213 that are something other than a major interchange there. So with Malala Avenue being one of the few alternatives to 213, we want to make sure not only it's efficient but safe. And that's it.
John, the pedestrian activated crossings, that's going to be at Garden Home and...
Right. Mostly, they haven't been spotted yet, but I believe Garden Home is one location where it's going to be an obvious match for pedestrian activated signalization.
Because if you haven't walked that, Gaffney's the last pedestrian crossing until you get to 213, unless you run fast.
Right. So that's it for me. Thanks.
All right. Questions for John?
I had a couple questions. On the Lynn Avenue trenching, is the new sewer pipe the same size or smaller or bigger than, is there an old sewer pipe that you're taking out?
Well, it's bigger than the original, and it's actually going in a different location than the original. So right now, both pipes are there, but eventually the old pipe will be abandoned.
Okay. And for that wall behind the apartments, is the city paying for that, or?
No,
who's paying for that?
the city is not paying for that. It's just
Okay.
an interesting project that I thought you guys might appreciate seeing. It's all privately funded.
Sure. And then that water pipe coming over the cliff, is there any other route that it can go besides right over the cliff there?
I wish there were. Unfortunately, we don't have another. As it gets to the bottom, it then goes down further underground and crosses 99E and the railroad. So our hope is that with the implementation of the Willamette Falls Legacy Project, that there will be a pedestrian crossing bridge of some sort, that we could have a more serviceable water line attached to or mounted under or something like that, so that we would not have to deal with, I mean, not only is the bluff line a problem, but as it goes under 99E and then under the railroad tracks, there's a lot of uncertainty about that piece as well. So I agree, it'd be nice to have it somewhere else.
Anyone else? All right. Now, Laura, the Alternative Mobility Standards Community Advisory Group. That's a long sentence.
Thank you very much. So as John was alluding to, we have to figure out a feasible long-term solution for the intersection of Beaver Creek and 213. During certain parts of the day, it can be kind of busy, and sometimes it takes a while to go through it, depending on when you show up and which part of the intersection you're going through. This was an issue that we looked at when we did our transportation system plan, which was our plan that we did in 2013 and 14. It's a high-level plan where we look at all of the transportation systems in the city, and we look at if they are sufficient enough to handle capacity within a certain time frame. Our time frame was 2035. So if we had built out the city by 2035 and say all those properties out there that are vacant or redevelopable were developed, what would our streets look like? And then we start to find places where we could do improvements. And we put them on a plan, and we get funding for hopefully most of them, and move forward. Well, one thing that we didn't find was a feasible solution for the intersection of Beaver Creek and 213. It's not that we couldn't find an engineering solution. There was a solution in the past transportation system plan from 2001, and that was a grade-separated intersection. So if you can imagine one lane, flyover. So one lane going this way and another lane sort of on a bridge going the other way. And that's really expensive. It was $20 million in 2001. 2014, it was, $26 million? I mean, the prices go up with time. And the problem is that intersection is 2 different jurisdictions. Beaver Creek Road belongs to Clackamas County, and Highway 213 belongs to ODOT. They're both within our city limits, but we do not have control over those roadways. But at this point, we're tasked with finding a feasible solution. So if we were to try and find $26 million like we asked around in 2014, there wasn't any. So ODOT doesn't have any money, and they've been very open that if they had the money, maybe they wouldn't put that much in this location anyway. And Clackamas County is in a similar situation where they don't have the money. So this happened a lot around the metro region. There's more than 90 intersections within the metro region facing this problem. We all sort of updated our transportation system plan at the same time through grant funding, and we sort of all figured out sort of around the same couple of years, we have some intersections and we have to figure out how we move forward. And we have urban growth boundaries, and we have zoning, and we have all of these things that we, as a metro region, agree to, and we have to balance these. We have to balance good transportation network with density, so you can kind of walk around, and we fit within our urban growth boundary, and we have this nice area. Once you leave Oregon City, you can go into the county. So as a metro region, we agreed on the balance between urban growth boundary, but then also that means everything kind of stays inside of it, and those transportation systems can sometimes conflict. So what we're doing is we decided that we need to pay a lot of attention to this. This is a very important intersection. It's a complicated problem, and we want to solve it together as a community. So we separated it from our work that we did in 2014. So we said, we'll put this intersection on hold, and let's address it in a very thorough way, where the TSP was this really high-level plan. We wanted to give this issue as much attention as it deserves. So here we are today. John has been nice enough to fund all of this project, and
Yeah, really.
yeah, thank you very much. And so we're trying to find a solution. So we're going to work with a variety of partners to figure out, are there things that we can do to improve the intersection? Are we okay waiting a little bit longer for portions of the day for certain legs of the intersection? Are there safety improvements or capacity improvements to either that intersection or maybe some parallel routes to that intersection? Are there things that we can do where we feel comfortable moving forward? I heard a statistics where 60% of the trips neither start nor stop in Oregon City. So it doesn't matter what we do, it's going to keep getting busier. We could say no development at all, it's still going to keep getting busier. But yet it is in our jurisdiction, and though we don't have any real control over the roadways, we want to figure out a solution, and we want to do it together. So we put together a community advisory group and a technical advisory group, and I sent an email out last week, or the week before that. We're having these groups come together to try and figure out what are the solutions, what's on the menu for improvements we can make, and then how do we go about implementing these improvements, and what's okay for us as a city, what is acceptable for trips. If you build better bike lanes or things like that, maybe you won't get out of your car and use that bike lane, but maybe other people will. And for every person walking or biking, you should be proud because they're not on the road. So there's a little more capacity there when other people do those types of activities. So we would love to have a representative from the CIC sit on our community advisory group. They meet 3 times. Their first meeting is in December 15th from 6 to 8 p.m. here. And then we have a second meeting on February 2nd from 6 to 8 p.m. here. And then there will be a third meeting where they meet together with our technical advisory group as well. And then after we come together and figure out a plan, what happens? We need to work together as a community to review it, to make sure it's okay. So we have these 2 groups. They're going to come together and make a plan. There's a variety of positions that are represented on these groups. If you go to our website of orcity.org, if you type in alternate mobility standards, you'll see it. And we're accepting appointments to positions. So there's that CIC position. So we would, again, like the CIC to come to a conclusion. After the CIC, after this plan is made, then it has to go through an approval process, and this is one with our planning division. It's going to be a process where it goes before the Planning Commission at a series of hearings, and it goes before the City Commission at a series of hearings. It's a big deal. It has to change sections of our code, amend portions of our transportation system plan where we didn't know the answer, so we kind of put it on pause. It's a big deal locally, but but also it's a big deal to ODOT because it's their facility and we want to make sure that trucks get to move back and forth. So after we hopefully adopt it locally, then it will go to the Oregon Transportation Commission, or OTC, for their approval. So as a regional leader, we are the first in the metro region to work on this. So we all know that there are a lot of intersections out there that have this common problem, but each solution has to be really tailored to each community. How much, what improvements are we expecting, and how much wait time is okay? These are all solutions that we have to figure out, and we don't know what it looks like to go before the Oregon Transportation Commission to say, yeah, I know you kind of like to get trucks through in this amount of time, but we would like this amount of time. And just another thing is that this process isn't going to say it's a free-for-all. You'll still do transportation studies to figure out that this intersection is not too busy with a different transportation measure. So maybe we measure congestion differently, but we will still keep measuring it along the way. So with that, I did receive an email from Mike Mitchell, who requested to be on it, and he's not here tonight. He had an excused absence, but are there questions about what our process is, or what we're doing, or why, or how we got here? Yeah.
I'm curious, how is it, you guys did such a good job on the one down by Home Depot. Is it similar to that sort of project?
Yeah, so that was $26 million, and we got, $21 million through some federal funding at that time. And so it's not feasible, we think, to get that amount of funding for this intersection, given that there's 90 other intersections in this metro region alone, and it was some federal funding. So we did do a good job with that. Thank you.
That was federal stimulus money during the recession.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and that's not around anymore.
Funding's not around.
May come back around again.
But if you know of any money, we're always looking for more resources.
Would that be the best option then? I guess the more money.
There's also, as a region, can we do we want to keep building more lanes and more lanes and more lanes? This area is a little bit different because we do have a little bit capacity to go, but a lot of intersections don't. There's buildings or things like that in the way. So you kind of have to weigh these goals with urban growth boundary and staying within it versus moving mobility and being able to get around. So as a region, we're all going to kind of have to balance all of these.
Is there anyone else with an overwhelming desire to be the representative?
I wanted to say that because it is Mike's neighborhood, I would like to nominate, or if we need to do that, nominate Mike Mitchell for this position and take a vote tonight to have the CIC appoint him to that.
Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
All right. Is there any discussion?
Just one thing, that we accept nominations, and then it's a mayoral appointment process. So.
So it doesn't apply.
So he would fill out an application and just say that the
Right, so the
CIC
appointment,
nominated me.
this motion doesn't apply.
Yes, it does.
Yeah.
We
This
are
is our
recommending
recommendation.
him.
Okay.
All right. Any other discussion? Hearing,
Chair.
yes.
And one thing, you may not think it concerns you too much, but the more that intersection is stressed, the more it diverts the traffic through your town here, so, especially McLaughlin neighborhood. So, because if people get tired of the lines and stuff, they find another route down the hill.
Well, and they're going to mess up John's pretty new Malala Avenue. So.
Yes.
All right. Laura, would you like to call the roll, or would you like Barbara to call the vote?
I think Barbara's got a sheet.
I have it.
Okay.
Let's see, Tony, not here.
Do we just call by neighborhood because it's only a neighborhood vote?
One vote, primary representative or the alternate if they're here instead of the primary.
Tony, Linda?
I'm the alternate.
Oh,
Yeah, actually,
Yeah,
so
this
you
is
need to
the,
call Mark, because Tony's not here.
yeah, so this isn't the primary, okay. Gordon,
Can I abstain? I don't even know Mike or anything.
myself,
Yes for me.
yes. And that's it.
Bill?
Bill's not here,
Or-
but Gary.
Gary's alternate, yeah. Was that a yes,
Yes or
Gary?
no?
Yes.
All right, so the final tally is 1 abstention, 1 nay, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 ayes. So Mike will be our recommendation. Laura, we are officially recommending Mike for appointment to this committee.
Since he volunteered.
All right.
Especially.
Especially since he volunteered.
All right, and, okay, the next thing on the agenda is preparing for the yearly commission briefing, which I believe was supposed to be for Amy's benefit. I'm assuming she's watching or will watch. Do you just want people to toss out what the highlights of the last year were, or?
Yes, and I went through all of our agendas and sort of wrote down all of the things that we've done. I think it is worth acknowledging that there's been a lot of good kind of work that's happened, and then also the CIC has been really helpful sitting on a lot of other committees, such as the alternate mobility, to just recognize that. So here's some of the items that we do on a regular basis, where we listen to the public and we talk about what's going on in each of our neighborhoods and what's going on at the city, and try and really share information back and forth. Here's a list of our presentations. I put upcoming in December. TriMet's going to reschedule for next month. But we've heard a lot of good information about how we operate as a city and what we do, how we process applications in the planning division. We heard from community services in our January meeting, and it was just interesting to know how many actual parks there are out there and how many facilities they look at. So here's an example of things that we've been doing, and over the past year, we heard about concept planning and so forth. A lot of the other things, though, is the public involvement plan, which is a really big deal. We talked about it a little bit in these meetings, but we talked about it a lot at the subcommittee groups that we had, and we met a few times, 5 times, 6 times, to sort of create a document that would stand the test of time. Here's a copy of it here, which is the Citizen Involvement Committee and Neighborhood Association Public Improvement Plan. And it has a lot of good items that we should keep referring back to try and drive people to participate both in neighborhood associations and in the CIC as well. Some other things that Amy has been attending our Community Development Department Stakeholders Group meeting every month. And that's where as the city, we meet with the development community to try and understand what's going on. And it's a public hearing and meeting, and we try and make sure that everybody's here to understand what our processes are and opportunities for improvement. So, is there anything other than on this list, or are there things that you would like Amy to particularly highlight in her update to the City Commission? She will be speaking to the City Commission next month, I believe, in early December.
Okay. Joyce?
Is the neighborhood night out and the safety fair
Yeah,
listed
that's what I was
as
gonna ask.
things that we
Are those
had
listed?
participation in?
Are they under an umbrella there somewhere that I don't see, or?
Oh, I said public events. I will clarify.
Okay, all
Yeah.
right, yeah, please.
You and I, see, we're the same neighborhood, we think alike.
It's a rarefied air up there or something, yeah.
Also, I'd like to congratulate the group too, because you have been coming to National Night Out and the Health and Safety Fair in a lot bigger numbers than you were before. And the idea that you guys were going to each other's neighborhood association meetings, I think, is really big, in that you volunteer not only to sit on this meeting and read all of our agendas and all of that, but go to the other meetings, I think, is very helpful to sort of understand what's going on in the community as well. Okay.
All right, so that should get Amy.
I just had a question. I just want to make sure that, I mean, I'm sure it is like this, but that there's a lot of support to the council for this CIC and stuff, because I had heard in the past, I don't know, in the news or something, that the city commission wasn't sure that, you know, this was important, or that the CIC or neighborhood association should gain money and stuff, but it seems like that they should, that was a few years ago.
We fixed all that.
Oh, you did? All right, good. Well, I was just,
It's over.
wanting to make sure there's a lot of support. And also I wanted to mention William Gifford. He seemed to be, when he got me involved with, you know, citizen involvement, and there was like one neighborhood association, and now it looks like all the neighborhood associations have come back and stuff. I think he's really supported that a lot. I mean, I don't always agree with his points of view, but I think it's good how he gets people involved. He really got people, he got me involved, you know, it was inspiring.
You know, that's a good point. And actually, some of the items that aren't directly on here, but actually have happened as a part of our work this year, is the Hillendale Neighborhood Association reviving Tower Vista, which I was planning on talking about later, but Tower Vista is back.
Good.
Thanks to Hillendale.
And they're here tonight.
And they're here tonight, but now we have a chair and a vice chair and a secretary, and they're back again. And it's thanks to a lot of community involvement and good volunteers for the city or for the neighborhood associations, but Hillendale Neighborhood Association and also South End are continuing to meet with these defunct neighborhood associations to try and find new leadership and train that leadership, and it's really great example of some of the things that we've done this year.
Good job. Okay. This is going to be nice and easy tonight. Approval of the minutes.
I have, I looked at the minutes, and I had August 1st at the top.
I changed the clock. It's 8 o'clock.
It should be October 1st,
All right.
and I think that was the only thing I had, yeah.
Anyone else note any needed corrections?
My name is spelled with a Y.
B-A-Y-S-I.
B-A-Y. Y, yeah, the Y's in there.
We'd turn you into a Bessinger or something?
Oh, a
Yeah.
bastard.
It's a thing, you
That was
know,
a
yeah.
typo, I'm
I
sorry.
know, I know.
All right. We're all sensitive to those.
Got it.
All right, any other corrections? Hearing none, I would entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
I second it.
How about a motion first?
All right.
Make the motion.
Usually it's like this.
Yeah. I second.
All right, Mark has moved, Faith has seconded that the minutes be approved as distributed with the correction of October and Basinger. Would you like to call the roll?
Can we just do it by voice vote?
Oh, wait a
All
second,
those
I
in
gotta
favor?
find that paper
Yeah,
again.
we just did voice vote, didn't we?
We usually just do voice vote.
All right, all those in favor say aye.
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 Anyone opposed?
Better.
Abstain?
There you go.
You got it.
Saved you 15 seconds.
All right, we
Good
are
call.
down to roundtable. And shall we start on the left tonight? Mr. Shaw, do you have anything to say?
You know, I don't think so. I was just impressed with the Girl Scout event coming up and stuff. I think that's pretty exciting that that somebody's taken on that park. So look forward to that. That's all I got.
Okay, Mr. Conkle.
Upcoming event, we're doing another cooperating with Friends of Trees for another planting, the McLaughlin, Barkley Hills, and Rivercrest tree planting event, Saturday, December 3rd, 9 a.m. to 12:30. Meet at the Zion Lutheran Church by 8:45. You can sign up to volunteer at www.friendsoftrees.org/OC. So we did a great job last year, planted nearly 100 trees throughout the community with cooperation from Friends of Trees. So we're gonna go at it again this year and see how many more we can get in the ground. Thursday, November 17th, 3 o'clock to 8:30, we'll be having the Willamette Falls Legacy Project or Riverwalk Community Event. It'll be held at the Gregory Forum at Clackamas Community College. Presentations will be at 4 o'clock, 5:30, and 7, but it is an open house, so you're free to come and linger and move around. There'll be some events, some table designs, input that you can participate in, as well as, like I said, just being able to come, hear the presentations, walk around, provide comments. They'll also be online at rediscoverthefalls.com starting on the 18th if you'd like to provide comments online there as well. So hopefully folks will come out and see that event.
one more addition to that is that we have a sign-up sheet for CIC members to participate in the event, so to help facilitate it with us. So there's a sign-up sheet in the back to be, greeters and that kind of thing, and help people go through that.
Pay attention to that.
Yes.
Unfortunately, it's the night of my neighborhood association meeting, so I can't be of a lot of help.
2 other events that night.
Anything else, Tony?
That'll do it.
Laura?
All right. So a couple things is that we have a new planner. His name is Trevor Martin, and he's coming to the planning division from Yakima. And he will be our preservation planner. So he is taking care of the preservation program. So you'll start to see him more. I'm sure he'll come before us at some point. And we welcome him and are very excited. He'll be doing current planning, long-range planning, but also the preservation program. So sort of like Christina Robertson Gardner used to do back in the day. The other thing is that we did at the City Commission approved some regulations associated with marijuana. We had touched base over this past year regarding those regulations when they were coming through the development process. So if marijuana businesses are allowed by the vote tomorrow, then we do have a set of regulations that would be in place, and they would start on January 1st. That's all I have except for to welcome Gordon Wilson. He is new to the CIC for McLaughlin. And then also for Tower Vista, I just wanted to say the name of the chair and the vice chair and secretary, if that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
So the chair is now Vern Johnson, the vice chair is Georgia, and the secretary is Monica Mumper.
Very good. Good job, Hillendale. Yay, Tower Vista.
That's it.
Okay. Anything you want to add, John?
I just wanted to say thank you to Gary in the South End neighborhood, and the other neighborhood I went to was Gaffney Lane. They invited us and let us speak and take some time, and really enjoyed that South End neighborhood. That was well attended, and there was just the whole candidate forum thing and the measure thing. I thought, what a great way to use the neighborhood. I don't want to have election every month, but it was good. The turnout for both those meetings were pretty significant, and I know it wasn't for our topic, so that was great. I appreciate having the opportunity to come and speak, and tell whatever we want to share.
We seem to be reverting back to the other end. Which of you is it?
I'm sorry. Laura brought up some of the stuff that City Commission's been doing, and a couple of things too I think you might want to know about is that we've generated a exclusion policy for our parks that the police can use now. This will give them some muscle so that we have some troublemakers in the parks. They now have a method of giving these folks a warning, and then they get 30 days. They cannot come back into the city parks. Mm-hmm. And then if it happens again, then they have 60 days and on and on. So this is something the police were kind of looking for, so they have something now that they can to use. And the other thing, we have approved a no smoking in the parks policy. So
I have to go out in my car.
Sorry, Jared. That's it.
Yeah.
All right, Barbara, Park Place.
We had a meeting in October, a general meeting, and it was very well attended, almost 70 people there.
Wow.
Laura came and spoke and did a very comprehensive explanation of the Park Place concept plan. Of course, there was a lot of questions and answers, and I think it went really well. We will have a steering committee meeting on November 21st, and we will be attending the a planning commission session. Is it a regular meeting or a regular planning commission meeting next Monday at City Hall, right here. The reason we have like 3 developments proposed right now. Two of them are in the annexation stage, and one is in the almost building and has to be approved, but it's all sketched out. that would be 97 houses. And there's a lot of concern about the traffic on Holcomb, a lot. Plus the future annexations that would also come out on Holcomb. So they're pretty large pieces of property, and we're going to work with the city and make everybody happy, I hope. I visited the Two Rivers Neighborhood Association meeting, and my husband and I were the only ones there. So they don't have residents in that neighborhood yet. So it's understandable. But
Barbara, if I can interrupt, that's because there were 6 people that were at a different location looking for that meeting.
Really?
And because it was posted on the city website at a different location.
Oh.
So there could have been 8.
So that was, yeah.
I understood it was at the Verdict, which is where Brian was.
And that's where it had been moved to, but the calendar said it was down at the River Shore.
Oh, darn, okay.
Katie has apologized.
Note if there are any changes to monitor that website and just let us know.
Okay.
Change it.
Okay.
All right,
Any more?
that's it.
Okay. Rivercrest has their meeting this Thursday night, and John will be coming. He's a brave man. Actually, so far I'm not hearing too many rumblings about Lynn, but John.
No speeding complaints on Lynn
Yeah,
Avenue.
this is, well, yeah, that makes McLaughlin happy. Well, both of us, McLaughlin and Rivercrest, happy. There's not only no speeding, there's no traffic on Lynn. I love walking right now. And that's about all for Rivercrest right now. Gordon, you want to report on McLaughlin?
I missed the McLaughlin Neighborhood Association, but Denise was kind enough to give me some notes.
Got notes.
Here's our meeting. We met, Dick Orr came from Beaver Creek Telco, and he was talking about a new community park for the Beaver Creek area. We met with the Girl Scouts about the Lord Triet Park, and everyone was very happy about that. Looks like we met Phil Lewis, the new community service director. Talked about the Buena Vista Clubhouse removal. What? Buena Vista Clubhouse removal of signs from Library Park, McLaughlin Promenade, and updating the 2008 park plan. Report by police. We have issues in McLaughlin with the transients. As was mentioned before, Oregon City has a lot of traffic issues or crashes, same as Bend, due in part because there's a lot of people transiting through Oregon City and speeding. There was a grand opening for the library, and Emmett, the McLaughlin Neighborhood Association was recognized for our participation with the project and commitment to the project.
Very good. Gary?
As John mentioned, we had our candidate forum at our last meeting, and it was very well attended. We had the other 2 groups that meet with us, and I think we had well over 40 people, I think, there. And there was a very vigorous conversation about a few of the measures and what we talked about. Our cleanup we did on Saturday, or this last Saturday on South End Road, and I was wondering, that guy that's putting that retaining wall behind the apartments, would he be interested in doing something like that down South End Road? It just keeps, as you walk on the downhill side there, it just keeps caving off, and they need to do that. But I know it's not our project. But anyway, nothing really of unusual on the pickup. Our next meeting is going to be on the, I think, 21st of January. And I was wondering, was anything discussed about is it called Promontory Point out there for the bluff? The gal came in and talked about, and then there's a park right, what is that park, a water board park? Or, about what you were talking about.
The grant they were going for? Or?
No. The gal was talking about all the people that gather up there and all the nuisance, and was that included in that conversation about exclusion? If people go up there and are smoking and partying and
No,
Because
but it would
that's
be,
not
it would
part
be,
of the
it would be
park.
applicable in all the parks in the city.
That's
So
not
water-
part, that's not a part of the park, is it? Right there with, on this side of the,
I don't
Wall.
think so. I think that's public right.
Public right of way.
Yeah, the parking area up
But
at the top
Waterboard
is where
Park
one of the
would
problems
matter.
is.
but it's right there at the bluff where they, you know, the oversight and the wall. And
That's
grill.
public, that's not a park. That specific point
Yeah.
is public right of way.
Could that be included into the park somehow?
Does not sound like it, no.
That's mainly high school kids, isn't it?
Yeah, it comes under different laws. It's a public road.
Chief Band is aware of the testimony that was presented
Yeah.
as well as the letter.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
That's okay for South End neighborhood?
Okay, Mark?
Yeah, we've got meeting on the 15th. We have looks like a water meter explanation. It seems like there's a lot of questions about that. And we are talking about, and we have something to do with the elections. And that's pretty much it for Barkley Hill as far as I know.
Okay. Faith?
The October 4th meeting, I don't know if we shared that, but we just had ballot measures and stuff like that. And then we organized the other neighborhood association. So, and talked people into stepping up and taking some responsibility. And then we had, on November 1st, they had the executive meeting, and I wasn't there. I will let Joyce share what happened there.
Okay.
I was called away.
Dennis?
Still in committee as the discussion and trying to mend a lot of dysfunction about the factioning and the bylaws. We have a good position on trying to find a neutral ground for creating a forum in which we can sort of like put aside all the difficulties. It's going.
Oh, Dennis,
I don't-
Dennis,
oh,
your
excuse
microphone's
me.
turned away. Thank you, Renee.
Should I repeat all that?
Yeah.
Anyway, in committee, we have an ongoing group that's dealing with and wrestling with the issue related to creating a form or of bylaws that would satisfy the constituents in our neighborhood and not pick a special interest group or point of view or an agenda, and to find some common ground. We have co-opted the example from McLaughlin, it being a historic neighborhood and very successful at that. And it's the model that we are trying to model our new plan off of. And I hope we will be successful. At this point, we're still discussing it. And I guess that's where I'd like to leave it.
Okay. Linda, would you like to add anything?
We're having our meeting November 17th, our general meeting that we have. And we did come together, Geneva, our 100% we voted to not have marijuana facilities in Kenema, and we were able to give a vote to that, which we gave on to the commissioners, and they agreed with us not to have a facility if that does pass in Kenema. So that we did come together on one issue. Yay.
It's possible.
It's possible.
It's always a start.
It's a start.
Joyce?
So, for Hillendale Neighborhood Association, we did have a steering committee meeting on November 1st. We had to move it at the last minute because of overcrowding at one place. But I would like to introduce both Vern and Georgia, who came tonight, who have stepped up to be our chair and vice chair for Tower Vista Neighborhood Association. And so at our next general meeting, we'll be electing who's going to be their CIC reps for that. I think we have to do that at general meeting? Or can we do that at a steering committee meeting?
Whatever you want. It's
Okay.
not specified.
So we will be deciding as to who's going to be their primary and secondary reps for CIC, but they wanted to come tonight to see what the things are about. And part of it is, to get the neighbors there has to be an issue. And sometimes the issue is just needing a crosswalk across the street or a stop sign on a corner. I know that our neighbors have come to us and saying we have got to get a stop sign at the corner of Fox and Hilltop. You know, it's just gotten really dangerous with the kids there, and they put up a fence that limited the sight distance around the apartments. And so we're getting all our ducks in a row and getting those warrants so we can take it to the Transportation Advisory Committee, things have to go through certain process. And it was through the CIC that we learned those processes. So you know, it's great to have this committee up and going. So our next general meeting for Hillendale will be January 3rd. Our next steering committee meeting will be December 6th. And the location of that is yet to be announced. So we're going to make reservations at the restaurant now, because I think that there's going to be 10 of us there. We can't just come and grab a table. It makes it a little harder. And so that's really exciting to see. I'm excited to see the Girl Scouts, and hope to be able to attend some of their events this coming weekend, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, down at the swimming pool community room.
Steve, do you have anything you'd like to add to Park Place?
One thing Barbara didn't mention was the location of our upcoming meeting.
The steering committee?
Are you moving
Yes.
again?
Well, the school is closed, and we're still looking for a location. Bob,
Okay, so you
I'm willing to have it at our house.
I don't think you've got enough room. It's the two annexations that are affecting our neighborhood are both going to be talked about that evening. Last time we had 60 people. I don't think we can get 60 people in your living room.
No.
She could miniaturize
I
them.
was thinking 40 maybe.
We have
Turn
people
them into
who do
miniature
not
people.
wish to attend a public meeting in a church.
One thing I did want to chime in about, I don't know if it's associated with your meeting or not, but just that our library does have a community room in it.
Yeah.
Would it hold that many people?
Yep.
Yes,
60?
60's it.
Yep.
That's the magic
That's
number.
about it.
Yeah.
But it would.
All right, I'll let Bob know about that.
I did meet with someone from the community, and they had a really good suggestion that I just thought I would throw out there. That neighborhood associations, it might be a good idea to have meetings in the library room, just to get to see the library and meet your neighbors and just sort of bring that community together. Maybe not with that much of an agenda if you want, but at least to see the facility and feel the facility. So.
Well, the only problem now is they don't allow meetings after hours yet. So they're still working on their process for getting them open.
Steve, is that housing authority meeting room up there? Is that?
We have to pay for it.
Oh.
We have to have insurance.
And two things, yeah.
So we could
insurance.
have a meeting at the water board.
There you go.
But that room is just as noisy as.
It's not that big either.
It's not that big, and it's very noisy.
Yeah.
So we're running. If we could do it at a church, that's where we had the charrette meetings for the Park Place concept plan. They worked out great. We'll see.
All right, good luck. We have a lot of neighborhoods with the same problem. And I have to say something. Denise, would you stand up and model and explain what you're wearing?
Can you come up to this? To the
Come up here
microphone,
where
please?
we can get you on camera.
Yeah.
Oh, the city shirt.
Yes.
She has the new official Oregon City shirt.
Yes.
Can you see me, Renee?
And name and city of residence.
Oh,
It just says, OR, Oregon City.
oh, I see.
It's got a little star.
This is from the first city festival that was downtown on July 23rd this last year, and these were the shirts that were given out. I understand that they are making more,
They
and
are.
they will be available at the tree lighting event, I hope, and also you can go online to Downtown Oregon City Association and order them there.
Yes,
from what I understand.
according
So
to
there's
their
a little
Facebook
star
page,
where the
they're
city
now
is.
available.
Yes.
Yes.
Hey
Okay.
Denise,
Yes, sir.
does hometown represent anything more than hometown? I mean, is that a brand or anything?
No, I think that's what they came up with for the slogan. So Oregon, Oregon's hometown. So should be Oregon's first city, but that's all right.
Thank you, Denise. I'd seen it on Facebook and I hadn't seen one live. All right, anybody else want to add anything? Have anything more to say? Going, gone, good night. The meeting is adjourned.
Are you doing citizen?